Oh, what a sexy dream. God, am I in the mood for. Oh, goodness. Okay, which erotic media am I in the mood for today? I do love a nice bisexual threesome. Oh, gosh, yes. But maybe today I'm kind of feeling more in the mood for men? Just men? I do like a bit of men with their sort of manliness and all their in and out bits. Lovely. But wait, that's what I watched last time. In fact, I've been looking at nothing but men all week. Does that mean I'm not bisexual anymore? Hey there, you bad bisexuals. Today we're gonna discuss how to ride your bicycle. You know, sometimes I'll spend a week obsessing over some long, juicy, serialized Star Trek. The next, I'll be all about that big, thick Lord of the Rings trilogy. And sometimes, when I'm feeling really naughty, I might watch Star Trek and Lord of the Rings in the same day. My tastes overall may not change, my personality doesn't change. I'm still hot for all sci-fi fantasy. My faithfulness to the media I love doesn't necessarily change, but I go through these cycles nevertheless. There is a phenomenon in the realm of the bisexual where something similar can happen with the gender of the people you want to make sweet, innocent love to. Maybe it manifests in your actual activity, in the porn or erotica you consume, or maybe just whether you're into Valkyrie or Thor this week. These feelings of preference, whether sexual or romantic, may manifest over a few days, or a few weeks, or maybe longer. You may even go through a period of not being particularly attracted to anyone. For some people, this cycle is the norm. For some people, it will rarely, if ever, happen. Taking a spin on your bicycle doesn't necessarily even affect your relationship to your partner. It doesn't make you any more or less monogamous, but the bicycle is both completely normal and confusing as fuck. Am I gay? Am I bi? Am I straight? Am I asexual? Something many bisexuals struggle with is the need to figure out if they're truly gay or truly straight. It's hard to relax into an indifference toward your own bisexuality. And why is that? Well, we obviously live in a heterosexist society, one which encourages or even demands heterosexuality from us. Even in more open-minded spaces, there is often a bias against bisexuality, which demands that if we're not going to be straight, we should at least do the decent thing and identify as gay. In his essay, The Epistemic Contract of Bisexual Erasure, gay legal scholar Kenji Yoshino argues that gay and straight people share an investment in stabilizing sexual orientation in a way which erases bisexuality and maintains social order. Straights have a more specific interest in ensuring the stability of heterosexuality because that identity is privileged. Less intuitively, gays also have a specific interest in guarding the stability of homosexuality insofar as they view that stability as the predicate for the immutability defense or for effective political mobilization. Bisexuality threatens all of these interests because it precludes both straights and gays from proving that they are either straight or gay. This is because straights, for example, can only prove that they are straight by adducing evidence of cross-sex desire. They cannot adduce evidence of the absence of same-sex desire, as it is impossible to prove a negative. But this means that straights can never definitively prove that they are straight in a world in which bisexuals exist, as the individual who adduces cross-sex desire could be either straight or bisexual, and there is no definitive way to arbitrate between those two possibilities. Bisexuality is thus threatening to all monosexuals because it makes it impossible to prove a monosexual identity. Yoshino argues that you can prove your gayness or straightness if, and only if, bisexuality doesn't exist. If a man sleeps with a woman, this doesn't really prove that he's straight. You can never prove a straight man is straight if bisexuality is an option that exists. This isn't about what he knows about himself, but what can be proven to other people. We don't tend to strap arousal measuring devices to men's genitals. Well, I don't on weekdays anyway. This makes bisexuality a threat to a system which upholds the sanctity of heterosexuality. Gay is only acceptable if it can be clearly delineated from straight. We need gay people to exist below straight people in a clear hierarchical position, where straight is the norm and gay is the deviation. There's a common attitude of accepting gay people on the condition that they can't help it. The lack of choice is used as a justification one straight people find more palatable, since bisexuals clearly can choose to opt out of being gay, implying that there actually is some degree of choice to sexuality. Bisexuality is sometimes also seen as a threat to the gay movement. So bisexuality is discouraged, erased, questioned, at least outside of pornos. As a result, bisexuals don't see bisexuality as a real, valid, tangible option to begin with, and often question ourselves, in hopes of verifying a dominant preference and being able to establish which camp we really belong to, instead of this unacceptable limbo. The bicycle doesn't really help this situation. If today I'm mainly into half-human, half-Vulcan male science officers aboard Federation Starfleet ships, that attraction is going to feel dominant and more valid. I may feel a little indifferent towards most women during this sort of phase. If I were to try and plonk myself on the Kinsey scale, I might give a very different response than I would next week when I'm exclusively into 8,000-year-old elf women. As young people, we go on journeys of self-discovery. We're not born knowing who we're attracted to. We don't even know whether we like to be spanked until the doctor gives us our first one. But the journey never really ends. And to add insult to injury, the things we like can change over time. There's always room to surprise yourself. This is a pretty frightening idea to a lot of people. Once again, like Yoshino says, this makes it seem all the more like it's impossible to prove gayness and straightness. Which isn't to say that these things don't exist. Of course they do. If you're gay, if you're straight, your experience and your identity are absolutely #valid. But the threat that the level of fluidity bisexuality implies, and the further fluidity suggested by the bicycle, isn't a threat to anyone's actual sexual or romantic desires. It's a threat to a hierarchical system which prioritizes straight people and undermines gay people. So while many of us are traversing our unique, individual, unmapped paths to self-discovery, we're simultaneously being pitted against ourselves, being told that the thing we're struggling with is something which can, or should, only be this or that. Sexuality is complicated. I first came out to myself as bisexual almost 20 years ago now. But sometimes, while going through the bicycle, I still question, who do I like most? Which direction do I lean toward most? And I have to wonder, to what degree are these questions coming from a genuine need to put my desire into words, and to what degree is this the voice of a contract of bisexual erasure? For me, I've been out long enough to recognize this cycle in myself. It's not even very often that I find myself having a preference, but in the end, my bisexuality is always visible to me as an experience over time. If you find yourself experiencing anxiety about your sexuality because you can't quite pin it down, don't worry about it. You don't have to pin it down to enjoy riding your bicycle. Unless you're into being pinned down. Okay. Wow. That was incredibly erotic. Thanks to all my patrons, and a special thanks to Aaron, ES, Joel, Nina, Susie S, and Juicy Fantasy Queen Plant Hookups. If you would like to see your name up here too, or just want to support my videos anonymously, check out my Patreon, where you can also get some special treats. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and if you want notifications for my next videos, ring the bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you bitches next time.